Okay.
That was a fun intro.
Hello, and welcome to Unprinted Pages. And thank you, Raz, for such a great song to dance to. Welcome to the show where we talk about authors' journeys and how they got to where they were so we can fan out and learn about them. And I would like to start out by introducing Ashira Datya. Please tell us about yourself.
So I'm a Michigan girl, born and raised. Um, I have a couple of kids. I have a great husband, and if I'm not reading, I'm writing
That is awesome.
or
And
hanging out with
Raz.
the thing.
I am Rusty Slasher from Mayor of Raztopia. I live in Ohio. I was actually just in Detroit to pick up Dell, one of our other network folks who's stranded at an airport 2 days ago. I was staying over there for a little bit. But yeah, I write a lot of stuff. You can find everything at rastyslasher.com and all the lovely places that Jenny finds to put me.
And this is Todd. Please tell us about you.
I'm Todd Tinker. I'm an author, an editor, world builder, publisher, all the things. Currently live in Texas. Co-founded the press Balance of Seven, and we are going strong, kind of, mostly.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Welcome to the show. And
Jenny, who are you?
No, me. I'm Jenny Elliott. I'm the book lady. I am the librarian of the Owlite Book and the Disorganized Library of the Blue Box. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm sorry.
No, I got you. Hi. See, you're important, and people need to know this, man.
Yes, I know. I keep telling you, but it's one of those things. Like, hey, I may be an author, but I keep forgetting I'm one too. So I wrote a book, and I've been able to be in 4 other anthologies, and I just love hanging out with these beautiful people on their normal shows or in the groups. I get to see them, and then I learn more, and then we go forward as better people because we teach each other. And we have great claw for babies. Mine's hiding, so I don't know if we'll see him. But anyway, welcome to the show. And as head librarian, I want to know what got you started on your road to writing. So please start, Todd.
You've been voluntold.
I've been voluntold, probably because I was laughing.
How dare you, sir? I'm joking.
Here, sir, you know I love your stories.
Right. So I'm, as far as I'm concerned, I've been a storyteller most of my life. I used to, when I would go to bed at night as a kid, I would basically stay awake for an hour just daydreaming stories. That didn't actually turn into writing until I hit 8th grade and met my then who became my best friend. She was she wrote, she did poetry, she painted, she was all sorts of things, and I had that realization I could put these stories on paper. and I quickly decided that is what I wanted to do with my life. At 13, I was like, I am going to be a writer. So that's how that started.
I didn't get that realization until after my dad died, and I realized I could buy journals really cheap and just fill them with words. And then my sister would be like, hey, you're going to do this one day. And somehow it took a while, and I finally am doing it. What about you, Ashira?
So my elementary school used to make you do these little stories. Like they'd give you a small notebook in the shape of a ladybug and say, write a story, you're the ladybug. And I hit 4th grade and my teacher said, you really should be an author and write books. And thanks, Mrs. Walton. My life has not been the same since.
Oh, but I'm grateful you
plant that seed, and it's like thank you. It's sometimes painful, but it will forever grow.
Sometimes it's a genuine thank you. Other times it's a sarcastic, what did you get me into? Thank you.
The thanks, I hate it. The love-hate relationship with writing.
I'm hating it currently. I'm doing it, but I'm hating it at the exact moment.
I'm at that stage where I'm too busy with the editing I'm doing to be able to write. But hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I'll be able to get back to the story that I'm currently rewriting.
So I'm writing a story for Patty at Fake Horde that's technically, I think, if any of us are in the anthology, it's doing 3 hours and 12 minutes. So I can finish that. Yeah. And I owe her a novel, technically, in the next month or two that I think I'm 3/4 of the way, maybe. But I'm really hating writing at the moment, so it's tough.
The story needs to get out. The actual process is painful.
Oh, yeah.
It's all written up here, man. That's what matters, but not really.
The hard part is when up here does not want to appear down there, no matter how hard you try and how long you stare at it, and then pieces of just kind of flutter away for no reason, and it's like, but I thought I had it. It doesn't seem to fit.
I tried to use the Force yesterday, and my computer just blue screen, so I don't know. No idea what's going on there.
Magic and technology, they just don't match. They just don't mix.
Have you found any places that you have been to that has helped like charge your soul into writing easier? Like, well, I know easier, but like sort of like a muse.
The entirety of my hometown, Riverside, Ohio, that I write about every day.
Yeah.
That's fun. I know for me, it's not so much of places as being able to commune with other creatives, oftentimes writers. and that's kind of the okay, here's my space to do it. I shouldn't be working on anything else.
Shouldn't be. That's the killer though, because you shouldn't be, but you're going to do like 12 other things at least. That doesn't even count the research. 40 hours for like maybe a sentence or two.
At least research goes towards the writing.
It does.
Hopefully.
40 hours, couple sentences. Yeah, sure. We can count it.
But I remember I love doing writing retreats because it's like sit around a table with other writers and all of us just focusing on our own story. And it's just.
I'm dying to do one of those, man. I have so many friends that have gone and done it. Like people that have mentored me, like, you got to do it, man. You got to do it. And now I actually have to do one for my master's. So I'm like, but which one do I do, man? I'm looking at some of the ones that the national parks do, because I can go and live in one of the fire towers for a couple months and literally write in the fire towers while I'm doing the fire lookout stuff, but they still have the get-togethers with everybody. And it sounds like a lot of fun, man.
Right?
Oh, yeah. What about you, Ashira?
So I usually do the best writing if I have access to a view, which thankfully I live on a lake. Unfortunately, my bedroom doesn't face the lake. So if I want to see the lake, I have to write in the living room, which is where I'm at right now. But in June, my husband and I went to Mackinac Island, and it was so quiet and it was so peaceful, and my children weren't there. So I actually got to feel relaxed and rested, and it actually made it a lot easier to pull out the computer, and instead of it being like, oh, I have some writing I have to do, or I'm not sleeping the night. Didn't feel like it was as much of a chore as it can after working and dinner and pulling apart the teenagers and the 9-year-old and like, get out of my room, I want to go to bed.
Yeah.
I've actually been looking at Mackinac Island a lot for a family vacation. My kids are grown, but we all live together and we still go and do crazy things because there's a lot of awesome, like paranormal, a lot of paranormal stuff on Mackinac Island. And one of the legendary, they call it the Spring of Eternity that's over there, but it's like this weird gateway that you're supposed to, if you walk through it and then walk backwards through it, it's supposed to grant you eternal life. It's super weird. It's over by the opposite side of the island. When you come on, there's like a lot of rocks and archways and stuff over there, I guess. I've been reading a lot about it. It seems cool.
I'm sorry. I don't want eternal life. It's messed up enough.
I have broken the majority of the bones in my body at least once. I have been stitched together with over 3,000 stitches. I'm pretty convinced at this point in time that I am eternal. I'm just going to suffer through everything and I'm just going to make it out. So I figured if I actually am eternal, I can at least make more money on myself. So
yeah, if I ever win the lottery, I'm building a house or buying a house on Mackinac Island, and then nobody's going to see me or hear from me for like 6 months.
That sounds reasonable.
hide away and write the entire time.
There's actually some amazing islands off the coast of Nova Scotia that have been for sale for 15 years. One of them, inflation just went up a little bit, so now it's $39,487. Yes, I know the number. It comes with its own dock. It's a 3 square mile island. It's got a 5-bedroom cabin in the middle, like a nice one with satellite everything. You got your own boat, like a boat slip that comes with it, and you have all these like fishing huts that you can rent out like during certain times of the year to make extra money on your property. But I mean, it is a couple miles through the water to get to your supplies. That's kind of tough in the winter, but it sounds beautiful.
Yeah. I can't imagine doing that with tiny people, especially the 30-year-old.
Oh, it would be tougher, but you're on at least the care flight system over there. So if something really bad happens, let's come get you in the helicopter.
Oh, yeah,
and if your boat's big enough, the sharks can't get you.
Exactly.
That would be good. Because as much as we want to see them, we don't want to be eaten. And as it is Shark Week, or it was, we have been watching all the specials. So, yeah, we know all the ways you can be eaten, and we're good.
I wish I had the guts and knew how to scuba dive, because I would love to go cage diving. I think tigers and great whites are absolutely gorgeous.
There are people that actually dance with these sharks.
I'm sorry?
They do, yep.
Yeah, they go in and sharks, they dance and play around in the dark. The sharks will swim around with them and do the movements with them, and it's crazy.
Yeah, I just don't know how to scuba dive, and I'm a chicken, so.
Yeah, with the water crushing down, I haven't found the cojones to even try.
So you're in a good area for it over in Michigan, because you got the Michigan Triangle over there, all the shipwreck diving. There's a lot of awesome stuff over there. I've been wanting to get the guts up to do it myself. I've been trying to get the guts up to do it myself.
I'll just stay along the shore and find the rocks and the shells. And try not to get pulled out by the undertow.
Yeah. So, therefore, we have one of the things I had questioned was your writing, Ashira. You have two different romances. You have regular written romance. Well, all of it's regular written romance, and then you have one with more of a supernatural twist with werewolves. Which one is more fun to write, and which one's easier?
I want to say the realistic real life is easier, because obviously we all were living in this world. So it's not really all that difficult to think of some kind of catalyst that could happen to a character. Either you worked in customer service, or you are a customer somewhere. You've seen it all, done it all, heard it all. It was a little more challenging to write the Magic Saga, primarily because, one, I'd never done it before. And then two, there's how many gazillion wares and vampires and all of this supernatural stuff. I will say I probably started writing those when I was watching Supernatural.
You had to decide the rules of your magic world and then try to figure out how to stay to them.
Exactly. And it's like, well, with Three Witches, how do I make it unique and not carbon copy of Charmed minus the kick-ass acting? It was an interesting little experiment.
Oh yeah, but it's beautiful. I've loved how it turned out.
Thank you. I was pretty happy with it too. It was definitely a challenge, though.
And Todd, you have written a wonderful book on how to build a world and differences that you can add to the world, compared to writing your other books with Jemmy in the world where there is magical animals and everything. Which was more fun and which was easiest, and how long did it take you to think out the actual format of the writing, the world building book?
So I will tell you that Fiction Tinker's Guide to Whimsical World was instigated by Inez. Inez Freeman, my former business partner who co-founded Balance of Seven with me.
One of my favorite Freemans.
Right. She because I'd had these tidbits, these editing tidbits that I would share on my social media all the time. And of course, that's what ended up becoming the 21 tips that are in Fiction Tinker's Guide to Whimsical Worlds. But Inez was like, you need a book. you're this high level editor. We need to get you a book. We came up with ideas for more books, but right now I'm trying to focus on my fiction books because, they need to get written.
And it's like a book world.
Say that again.
It's like a 15-book world.
It is a 15. It's currently 15. I already know that there's a third section of the world that I have a couple of ideas what it is, but I'm like refusing to actually explore it because I know more books will be born of it. I'm like, 15 books is good right now. I still need to I'm still rewriting the first book. But yeah, but I'm definitely, Evon is definitely my baby. Fiction is a lot easier for me than nonfiction. The Fiction Tinker's Guide, there's a reason, one of the reasons why Fiction Tinker's Guide is just so short is because it's hard for me to get it all out. I'm like, I can do 1,000 words per tip.
Was actually one of the longer books I've seen of that type of book. So to me and Cassie, it didn't seem like it was so short. It seemed like it was well thought out and actually some great examples in it. And it was a great baseboard to talk with a 9-year-old about. And it's helped her with her art and her stories behind the art. So that has been great.
That makes me very happy to hear. And that's one of the things I loved about creating that book was just the idea that to make it accessible to all ages, to make it accessible for try and make it accessible for all possibilities. I had Charlene Templeman, who is now the CEO and publisher of Balance of Seven. She actually read through Fiction Tinker's Guide to make sure we were taking into account everything, and there was actually the children's section, like the section of how they reproduce. She was like, we might want to get rid of the women part and talk about getting just pregnancy or whatever, to take into account the possibility of other types of pregnancies. So it was very helpful getting the just diversity language from her perspective too.
Oh yeah, that's why we have such a great group of friends. They have multiple different points of view.
Mm-hmm.
What has been like your favorite part of Jimmy's world?
Funnily enough,
it's large.
Yeah, it is large. It is very large. It's always hilarious because the side characters are always some of my favorites. You're very familiar with Mama Kaler, since that's the very first person you see, whose perspective you see in the books. Like Mama Kaler, Mama Dragon are two of my favorites. I've been working on the 4th book in this series for a while, and there's I call him little assassin boy, who's one of the instruments for one of the bad guys in this, and like I already know how he's going to be involved in the future series, and I'm like he's so cute. I just want to hug him. But yeah, all the side characters, just all the side characters that end up becoming their own thing, because it's like, so Mama Kaler, I already have a book planned for her family. I have Captain Talon, who is the mute pirate captain, who basically he has a parrot who's his voice, because he's an animal mage, and I have an idea for a book for him, and So yeah, all the side characters I want to explore. It's like, okay, let's do a book for them. Let's do a book for them. And also how interconnected things turn out to be. I have a series of short stories for basically back to the time when Jemmy as Peace was originally born, and so this is like that would be 2,000 years before the Evon series, and just how the civilizations were formed and the interactions between the different people and how they're all connected.
Oh yeah.
That's the world building part. That I'm a world builder through and through. So the world building
yes, you are
is my favorite parts of everything.
I have noticed, Ashira, that you are re-releasing your original stories through Fake Horror after you've had your werewolf series go through. Are you continuing that world? Or are you adding something new? Because I remember you saying you're writing. You had just finished something big, but what are your plans with that? If you don't tell us, it's okay if you don't tell us much. I'm just like, I want to know which route you're going. Are you going like the supernatural route or more of the normal romance route? And what's the myths we can find about that?
So the Life trilogy, I basically wanted to polish it a little. When I first wrote that, God, it's been 20 years. And there were some references that I didn't think if anyone picked it up now would necessarily understand. Like in one of the books, one of the characters makes this pulp culture reference, and basically Leo DiCaprio is the teenage heartthrob.
Yeah.
Not so much in 2023. I mean, he is for us because we're, at least me anyway. I'm old.
With him being our age.
Yeah, I'm the big 4-0.
Yeah, okay. Well,
but
you're only like a little bit older than I am. That's okay.
So, but I don't think if like necessarily an 18 or 19 or 20-year-old would pick that up and they'd have Leonardo DiCaprio being the heartthrob. I think they'd look at it and be like, "The fuck are you smoking?" So I wanted to update it a little bit. I wanted to clarify some of the things that, especially in the first book, because it deals a lot with cystic fibrosis, and I wanted to clarify some of the stuff that I had mentioned in the book originally, especially with now that COVID has happened and everyone was like, well, why the 6 feet apart? Why the 6 feet apart? And CF patients have to stay that far away from other CF patients because there's more than one strain of cystic fibrosis. Some of them will prevent you from being able to get a lung transplant. Some others do not. So you have to really be careful about who you get close to. And so with everybody freaking out about that 6 feet apart, I kind of wanted to go back in here and just kind of update some of
to the story as well as the beautiful love there.
Yes. So CF plays probably a huge part in that book. The main character's brother had it, her first love had it. And with CF, if you have a family member, let's say one of my kids was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis, that would mean I was a carrier of the gene and my ex-husband was a carrier of the gene. And the chances of future generations being carriers of that gene or having CF do not decrease like they do with other illnesses. So I wanted to go back and make sure that the science was up to date and the science was right, and that if people read this, they weren't like, well, she didn't do any research. She's talking out of her behind. She doesn't know what she's talking about. That's a big pet peeve of mine. I'll read something and I'll be like, no, that's not right. I studied history. You need to go back and reread your history book, or get a different one. So that's like that for me. If the story is not believable, it doesn't make sense, and you can tell that there is a glaring error there, it kind of makes it be like, all right, I'm done. And so I wanted to make sure that if somebody now picked up Life Lost, that they weren't going to be like, well, this chick's loco, and just disregard everything. So that was why I'm re-releasing it. I do have something that I'm working on now. It's not really real world. It's not really supernatural. It's kind of like a cross between, I've been reading some otherworldly type stuff, and it's just kind of gotten my brain like do. It's actually over 60,000 words right now, which I did not expect. And yeah, so I'm basically just retweaking it at this point and fleshing scenes out and everything like that before I send it to Patty and company to look at. But it's a little, I've never written anything that long. Like I usually stop at like 40,000 words. Like, okay, I want to keep going, but I want to tell somebody else's story now. And so then I get the second book in the series, because then I can continue to tell the story, but from somebody else's point of view. And I think it makes it a little more coherent that way, instead of trying to fit the story of 12 different people in one book. Because I mean, our lives aren't just about us. We have family, we have friends, we have coworkers. And so your books have to have that too, or it comes off as very unbelievable. And then at that point, I don't know who wants, I mean, yes, we want fantasy. Otherwise, Lord of the Rings and stuff wouldn't exist, but there's got to be some kind of realism there too. Because otherwise it's going to be like, I don't know.
I like how authors like Kate Marie and Robert Hyland did it. Each chapter has like a different name at the top of it, but it's the continued story, but from that person's point of view. And I like the different ways, but I've also like the Moon Daughters. Each book is the continued stories, but it's from a completely different girl in the group's point of view. I love that sort of thing in books. And yeah, that is a great reason to keep people coming back, that and learning more.
Definitely.
But also Todd has been going through a piece of Evan on like the same type of line. It's like, how is this going to work if he was like talking about the whole period thing. How am I going to keep that from happening and make it believable? And then he came up with the perfect idea when he realized who he was. It just like clicked all across the board.
So what Jenny's referring to is I am currently rewriting the Evon series, because we were at HavenCon last year, which is an LGBTQIA fan convention, and I was on several panels with other queer authors, and I basically had the realization as I was on these panels with these people, is like, I could be doing so much more with my story. And of course, what I originally did with the Evon series is based on what I originally had access to knowledge-wise as a kid, because I grew up on Tamara Pierce's The Lioness series and other books like that, where the main character was a girl who wanted to be a knight, and therefore she had to pass as a boy in order to do so. And so that was the connection to the being trans that I didn't have words for, but that I understood at that point. And so now that I have that realization that I can do so much more with my story, it's very much, okay, let's go back through this, increasing diversity, both in the sense of sexuality, gender identity, and racial diversity. And also, Demi is a trans woman, which totally explains two major issues I had with the story originally, which was the fact that she originally bound her breasts, which is very dangerous, for the fact that basically she did it constantly, and she's a fighter, so that would be broken ribs and an inability to breathe all the time. And then the other one was, I never really figured out when she had her period, because the story is like 3 months long, and it's like, okay,
At some point.
Yeah, at some point. And it's like she's passing as a boy and traveling with someone who doesn't know her secret. And so it's like, and for one thing, she's unconscious for 10 days, being taken care of by her dragon. And so it's like, yeah, that's something that I was like, I don't even know how I'm going to fit this in there. Like just mentally understanding it. So the fact that knowing that she's trans and that therefore physically she was born as in a more masculine body, and for reasons having to do with wanting to fight, and the fact that she's kind of caught between a rock and a hard place with her society has a taboo against forcing someone to live as a gender that they're not. So this society is very much about acknowledging someone's truth, someone's true soul. And then the other thing is that she's caught between is the society's belief also that women, that the female soul, women don't have the power / capacity or whatever for fighting or leading anything larger than a household. So she's caught between those two beliefs in her society, and so so that was how I figured out how to increase the diversity, but also still deal with the feminine rights issues. That was like the big thing I was focusing on when I originally wrote Piece of Them.
I think you have created an unintentional theme here, Jenny, because you have 3 writers that had a novel that completely rewrote and re-released. I actually did the same exact thing with Patty, because I had written, it was called The Mime once upon a time, and now it's Silence Crimson. I had written it and had some trouble with the publisher and didn't quite get to release the version that I wanted to release. I tried the self-publishing thing after that, made a little bit of changes, but monetarily, man, that's a tough track, and at the time I just couldn't support it. Then had another couple false starts, and then got with Patty, and it was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I had a chance to go back and add a lot of detail. It's different because it's a dark humor slasher Lovecraftian novel. It's a total throwback 80s slasher with some modern day stuff later on. So it was a lot of fun to go through there, but it's again all based in my hometown Riverside. So I got to go in and add even more layers. I added a whole prologue which explained the whole creature side of things and how his origin, how he landed in Riverside, Ohio. So it was a lot of things that fans and things had been asking for about more details that I never quite thought fit in book 2 or 3 that I really just got to go and add and have fun with. And it's a cathartic experience to go back to something you wrote so long ago and see, wow, man, I thought I knew how to write then. I did not.
I think it's hilarious that so what I currently have out is already a second edition, because the original publication was not very professional. I did my own covers and everything, so with the second editions I had a professional cover designer and a professional editing and all of that, but like after I did the second edition for my third book, Kelly Lynn Colby, we were in the Houston Writers Guild together at that point. She was talking to me one time, is like, so when are you gonna rewrite it again? I'm like, no, I'm done with the rewrites. And so when I made the decision to rewrite the Evon series with the approach of increased increased diversity in general, as well as tackling trying to strip away generalized gendered language, things like that, which that has been absolutely fun. I reached out to her. I'm like, okay, you were right.
Well, there's a bunch of correlations here. Each of you have reread and re-looked at your stories each a million times. But the thing is, you have so much of yourselves and things like you have put in these stories. It's like my next question, I was going to bounce off of something I've noticed with your writing, Raz, that you have added so much of your life in it. And the thing that I haven't got the guts up to ask before now with Ashira is, was there a specific like group of people or a person that gave you the want to spread the understanding and the story of what actually happens with having fibromyalgia, what actually happens when you love somebody with fibromyalgia and you try to be there for them / be the person with fibromyalgia and show the love that can be, but also the heartache that can go with it whenever you're going through it.
Wow, yeah. So my ex-wife had fibromyalgia. When I really began my career as a writer, when I was writing Mime and my first shorts, published small things a lot before then over the years, but that was when I really started taking it seriously. She actually had to go all the way to the Mayo Clinic to originally get diagnosed with fibro, because that was back when everyone thought, oh, that's a made-up thing, that's not real. That's just in your head. It's bullshit. So luckily her parents, had the financial means to be able to take her there. This was like just a year before we had gotten together. And she lived basically at the Mayo Clinic for about a month or so. They tried vitamin regimens. They tried all these different things. And then when she moved to Ohio from Florida, we had to struggle. We went through like 7 or 8 different doctors until we found this one amazing doctor that actually specialized in it. And then I was kind of trying to spin my wheels a little bit, writing, doing a lot of things and trying to figure out how I could help her more, and also how I could, kind of better our quality of life. And that's when I started going to med school. I got my degree for originally medical massage with a focus in migraine disorders, all kinds of issues with the back, and of course fibromyalgia, because that was really the focus on wanting to make her life better. And then I started going the physical therapist route. So I learned a lot of things to help myself, because I'd already had crippling injuries. And so I was fixing myself and helping fix her. And I studied it so much. And I remember one day I stopped and thought about it, and I had to do an actual presentation to my class about fibromyalgia in med school. And I told them, close your eyes. Imagine that you are surrounded by a fog. You have this impending sense that you need to be somewhere, but you can't remember where. And every one of your muscles aches so badly you can't even stand up. Now introduce the anxiety. Now introduce what equates to PTSD at that point, when the anxiety gets so severe once you realize that you are just stuck in this fog and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's literally how I started my entire presentation. And the reality was, that's what it's like for a lot of fibro patients. Like, obviously not with that level of imagery, but that feeling, that vibe. And watching her live, of course, obviously she's my ex-wife. Wish her well. It just, sometimes 2 people are great people that are just not great together. And it's one of those situations. But she taught me a lot about it, and living in that situation with her, I wanted to honor her at that time by, putting that into a character. Like, and the funny thing is, the other person that character is based off played that character in the film version. And her and my wife were best friends. And my wife actually directed that movie. Her ex-wife directed that movie. So like, there was a lot of like all these things, all this love going on, like all this positivity. And I had, there's a lot more with all the other characters too, but that specific, the fibro thing was just something that I just felt more people needed to know about. So I talk a lot about, with that character, Samantha, about, what it's like for her life, how it affects her. And that's actually something that's being brought back again now in the sequel that I'm almost done with. There's a lot more conversation about that, because now the world knows even more about fibromyalgia than they did then. It's like you were talking about with cystic fibrosis, like you get that chance to go back and with the new knowledge and add, and also the character in the meantime, since we last left them, she's learned more about it herself. So you kind of get to experience the growth and knowledge through her eyes a little bit too.
That's awesome.
How did you choose with cystic fibrosis? I cannot say the word for the life of me, and I know, and I'm learning more and more thanks to you and others, but how did you choose your baseboard? Was it a loved one? Was it somebody you knew? Or is it a group of people that gave you the want to write the living with and the loving and being the one who's trying to help them and be loved and do the loving of that person? What I tried to say earlier again, but with cystic fibrosis, because there is a theme here, as you could probably figure out to this conversation.
So my adopted father has a slew of cousins, and one of that we're really close to is my cousin Rick. And oh god, it was 2003. My parents are in Florida on spring break. I'm in college, and Rick calls the house and asks if my dad is home, and I said no, he's in Florida. I need him to call me right now. So hang up with him, call my dad's cell phone, which in 2003 is a new newish invention, and said, Rick called, you need to call him immediately. Well, what my parents had never told me growing up is that Rick's son Matt had cystic fibrosis. And he was calling to tell my dad that he had passed away. He was, let's see, this was April of 2003. Matt was May, June, 3 months, literally like 3 months to the day before his 28th birthday. And my parents hadn't told me anything about it growing up because, one, I couldn't have done anything about it if I'd wanted to. Two, they didn't feel that as a child I needed to know what this was. I wish they had, because learning about it after the fact was a lot, because not a lot's known about it. Wasn't even the gene for it wasn't even discovered until like 1938. And the life expectancy was literally 6 months. So if your kid was diagnosed with it, you had 6 months to say goodbye. And it wasn't until like the last 20, 30 years where the life expectancy is now like 40, 50, 60 years old. But it was a lot to try to learn about, and it made me mad that there's not a whole lot out there about it. And and so I kind of went with wanting to get that knowledge out there. And then I, growing up, loved the Lorleen McDaniel series. Like, she had a slew of books that dealt with young people learning about and living with terminal or possibly terminal illnesses. And so I didn't want to necessarily write like her, because she wrote, I'm sorry, she's retired now. She wrote for teenagers. And as much as that would be fantastic to be able to do, my brain doesn't work that way. So everything gets a dirty little twist. Nothing
wrong with that.
No, but there is when your 9-year-old says, will you help me write a book? And you're like, I can't. Yeah, I can't. It won't go well.
Well, I got help with that. I talked to this wonderful, lovely person that I keep calling Dear Sir. And then at one point, they just gave me a book and said, here, this should help. And it actually did help them with that project they were doing at school.
It's like, I will edit for you all day long, but you don't want me to help you actually write it. Because it's not going to be 9-year-old appropriate. Sorry. But so that was my inspiration behind Life Lost. Was I wanted not necessarily Matt's story, because it didn't go exactly like so. Matt went to U of M, graduated, went out to California, worked for Judge Judy, and had a double lung transplant, which was one of the first, I want to say this was like 2001-ish, and one of the first double lung transplants. It was successful. He lived for like another 18 months, and then somebody came to work sick.
Oh, God.
And you combine anti-rejection meds with the fact that CF patients have the immune system of an AIDS patient, basically.
Yeah.
And he was just, that was it. He got a cold, it turned into the flu, it turned into pneumonia, and he was never they couldn't get him off the vent. I wanted that information to go out there and not necessarily be in this really depressing, stark feeling. I wanted it to be like, well, yes, this exists. It sucks. It's awful, but life goes on. You can still mourn for these loved ones that you have loved and have lost, and you can still then go on and find a future. These people, unless they're curmudgeons want you to be happy and want you to go out and have a fulfilling and a successful and a loving life. They don't want you to sit alone and be the crazy old lady on the corner that says get off your lawn when there's cars coming down the street and you're riding your bike, like my neighbor growing up. So I wanted to show that even in death, there's still beauty and everything is still. Gemini, get down off of that bookshelf. Kids and cats. Gemini, get down. Whatever. Just don't knock the router off.
Everyone's yeah, that would be good, not to knock the router off. But then again, I've had to hide mine high and fix it where the cat can't get to it.
She doesn't normally go up there. I don't know why she's up there right now. But if she's gonna knock over my lotion, I think.
Just because we're doing something live, the cats do weird things just for the heck of it.
Oh yeah.
But I realize I am not as versed with your writing as theirs because I just relatively since I've had the baby, found out that you are a writer compared from just like the other jobs you have that one of them I had as well. And so hopefully if I can get you back on the show, I'll be better versed in your writing. There's like Todd's I've been reading since 2018 or 16.
Yeah.
I think 2018.
Get the cat, Julius.
More. Actually, I have no idea.
And I've beta or / bought Raz's stuff. But like the cool part about this is bouncing off like the different things. Because I realize not that I'm saying like trans is like a bad illness. It's one of those, it's a life process you go through. You learn like going through somebody's life as a loved one of somebody with a illness like arthritis, asthma, cancer. Cancer's been a big one in my life. Yeah. But there's always a story to tell as a survivor or as someone who has loved them and continued on. But there's still that pain of trying to figure out after the realization of everything, of moving on with how life is supposed to be after they've left or you've changed everything. After all the changes and all you've read, what has been the greatest strengths you've found in moving forward in your writing careers that has made you want to continue telling the stories and seeing the world see what you have to say?
Gemini, get down. There's going to be cat tartar here in a minute if she doesn't get down. Come on.
Do you see why Jimmy keeps coming to mind? And I say Jimmy instead of Gemini.
It's like every time you say that, I'm like, that's the name of my character.
I don't want to alert the cat. But I love the cat's name.
Right.
Yeah, she's a monster.
Yes.
She's Houdini.
Technically, so is Jimmy. But yeah.
Okay, Gemini, I can't throw things over to you, apparently. So get down.
How the heck did you go from
there? She didn't get down though.
A pirate war to turning it into 5 minutes later, I got rid of him. Now let's try to find peace. In an hour and a half.
Never mind the flying staples.
Back to the original question. What has given you the strength to go forward and want to tell these beautiful stories, my lovely authors?
Well, I know for me, it's just learning more and understanding more about myself that's making me realize I want to be able to put this into story and help people understand. Because there's so much misinformation that's being used these days to I'm not going to dive into the political stuff, but
right. You're absolutely right. What you're saying is absolutely right. It is insanity.
Yeah, there's so much that's misunderstood about it, and it's like we're people too. We just want to be able to live our lives the way that's true to ourselves, and And so being able to, I had part of the realization that I could do more with these books was I had that realization that I did not have to base Evon on the sense of the real world that, or on the binary that our current society is based on. That I could have it completely shifted. I could have it where the norm was gender diversity. So it's like okay, going from that mindset, let's overhaul that mindset, and approach the story from that way. So yeah, it's basically after everything I've learned, and it's just trying to put that into place and trying to just kind of give an example of what we could aim for, kind of thing.
Shira, what about you?
So basically, if I don't write it down, I don't sleep. It gets to the point where if I wait too long between writing sessions, that I start having these really freaking bizarre, what the hell am I smoking kind of dreams. And they don't stop until I put it to paper. And while I don't expect to be Nora Roberts or as well known as Nora Roberts or even in her atmosphere, it doesn't hurt to put it out there. Maybe someday somebody will like it and they'll be like, hey, did you read this book? And yeah, not gonna, hold my breath waiting for it, but it doesn't hurt.
It's a dream, and I hope we all achieve that one dream. Not to be just like them, but to be their fame. Like somebody will randomly buy it from a used bookstore just because it has our name on it.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
What about you guys?
You want the real answer or the fun answer?
Well, the fun answer
well, you know me. Just judge by the audience.
I'll go fun and real because none of them are that long. A fun one. Have you ever seen Nightmare on Elm Street 3: Dream Warriors?
Yes.
Okay. That leads into Nightmare on Elm Street 4. And here's why this is important. There's a character in there named Alice who, as all her friends die, everyone she loves around her is dying, and she absorbs some part of them. And she feels responsible for continuing their lives and continuing their stories. And she uses their powers and their ability to fight and potentially, destroy Freddy once the 5th movie hits. So that's kind of how I look at a lot of that. Like, I have all these people that I've loved over time, family members, friends, romantic relationships, and I've had pretty much nothing but death surround me my entire life. So this is my way of, trudging forward and going on and making sure that all their stories never end. For as long as mine goes, their stories go too. That's kind of the more fun answer because, it's slash related. The real answer is I have some fairly severe brain damage combined with eidetic memory, and it's a nightmare where basically you don't remember what you know until something triggers it, and then you experience a series of brain dumps, which is images, sounds, smells, everything, and it can last a minute. I've had it last an hour and a half, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't stop it. So the older I get, the more memory that I'm going to lose. My short term is gone. Long term, there's struggles. So what I do is I specifically leave triggers of major events throughout my whole life, very real events, people, places, everything, and every single thing I write. And that's my way of being able to go back and reading any story, anything I've ever written, and force a mind dump for things that I want to intentionally remember for as long as I can.
Nice. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
I like both the answers.
Oh, yeah. Great answers. I love your answer. And mine is they can do it. I wonder if my stories are worth telling, so I'm going to tell them and find out if anybody else thinks so. My sister says they are. Now you guys get to decide. So yeah,
I'm of the belief that all stories are worth telling. It's just sometimes you just need to find where that heart is, what you're trying to get across.
Exactly.
I agree with that about 99%. Then you get people like Hitler that writes Mein Kampf, and you're like, nope, sorry, I wouldn't even use that for toilet paper.
We could have been done without that one, right?
Well, yeah. Some of them are of beliefs that we wish were not there, but
Right.
Yep.
That's why I said I agree 99%.
That's why we have history written down. That way we know we don't do that. Let's do something different and see if we can get a better outcome.
I mean, if you think for just a quick second about Hitler and the whole thing. Quick second. So 2 things happened because of writing. One was Hitler and the other was Superman. Same source material. It was all Nietzsche.
Yep.
The only good thing out of Ohio, sorry, is Superman. Go blue!
I'm super anti-Superman. He's my most detested superhero of all time because his version of his alter ego is belittling and making fun of us.
Right.
That's his core to me, and it bothers me. But I like the villains, so it's cool.
Yeah, not my favorite superhero either, but
I'll get shit from that from people later. That's okay.
Yeah, not having that conversation with the tiny one, just not happening. But we will continue watching Superman just because it makes her happy.
Now, having said that, though, I love Smallville. I do not know why, but I fucking love that show. As much as I don't like Superman, I love that one.
that's because Tom Welling is delicious.
I love him. Like, think about without Tom Welling, we would not have had Dean Winchester. It's actually because of their friendship that he got onto the WB in the first place with Smallville.
Nice.
Jensen was on Smallville. They became best friends. They got the Beard Project, and also Tom Welling was who kickstarted Jensen's directing career. Because when Tom stopped acting, nothing but mostly directing.
Right.
And they're still best friends to this day.
That's super cool. All I know is the first time I saw Supernatural, I see Jensen, and I grew up with Days of Our Lives, and he played Eric Brady.
Yeah.
And I looked at the TV and I'm like, Eric Brady, what the heck did you get yourself into? And does Marlena know? Because she already danced with the devil once.
Yeah. And just think, during the course of making Supernatural, he was forced to pass up playing Captain America, which was a real offer on his table, and Leon Kennedy from the Resident Evil franchise. He gave up both.
He would have looked really good in that Star and Stripe suit. I'm sorry, Chris Evans. You were super awesome as Captain America, but
I'm all Dean. Sam's all right, but I'm all Dean.
Dean. Sam, when the show first started, looked too, and I don't want to say baby faced because he's my age, but he was still
2 Gilmore Girls for me.
He looked young. And then as the shows progressed and he got older and his looks matured, he ain't bad.
Yeah.
No.
That was how I always knew which one was Dean and which one was Sam, because the one that was Dean in Gilmore Girls was not Dean in Supernatural.
No.
Have you ever watched any of the slew of indie films that Jensen did?
I've tried. No, I really wanted to watch the one that he met his wife on, and I cannot find it anywhere for the life of me.
Out. Message me after the show. I watch it ever so often. It's 10-Inch Hero. That's the movie you're talking about. I actually made my family watch it twice just in the last couple of years because they love him so much. And he's got this giant monologue about why it's important and cool to buy your girl feminine products at the store. It's hilarious monologue. It makes the whole movie, but it's a really fun, hilarious movie. He plays kind of a moron character that's a cook, and he has a mohawk. It's epic.
Okay.
It's hilarious.
What is your comfort show, Todd? Because, well, obviously we're all Team Dean.
Comfort show.
I love Supernatural. My comfort show is actually The Office.
I think my comfort shows tend to be like space operas. I'll have a thing where I'll binge things like Firefly or Dark Matter, which I was really upset when I realized they weren't going to do another season on Dark Matter. But I mean, if it's sci-fi fantasy, it's my go-to.
Awesome.
I've been binging Babylon 5, or at least I was until July hit, and National Geographic did Shark Fest, and then Discovery did Shark Week, and I'm like, sorry, Garibaldi, I'm gonna go watch the sharks.
I don't remember what I was watching, but season 2 of Good Omens just dropped, so now that's all I care about.
Of what?
Or was it
Good Omens?
Thank you. Yeah, good.
Oh, Good Omens. Oh, that's out. Ooh, I need to see that. Yeah. There's a lot of things I need to see. I'm focused on Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
Nice.
Well, that does not surprise me. So is Jim. He's either has or is in the process of beating it again. Yeah.
Didn't that just come out like 2 months ago?
Yes.
Something like that.
But he's autistic, and I found something about my beautiful autistic people in this house. Yeah, what we think is a time frame is not their time frame, so we have to like adjust theirs to ours to make anything happen.
Yeah, my husband does that with video games. With me, it's I'm either binge watching Criminal Minds, Bones, or if I really am tired of the real world, I watch The West Wing, which seems counterproductive, but that's how it's supposed to work, and it doesn't. And I just I'm sorry, I'm going to go watch Martin Sheen be awesome now.
Right.
That's okay. I got burnt out in college, and I just binge watched Medium while I was trying to write reports for it, just so my brain would have something else to do other than momming and that.
Yes.
So you said earlier that only one good thing came from Ohio, but now you're mentioning Martin Sheen, and their whole family comes from Ohio.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. See. Plus
and the little Buckeye candies are good too, but
yeah, the edible.
Sorry, win or lose, I bleed maize and blue. My dad went to U of M. It's kind of against the law to be a fan of anywhere else. So
no, I totally got you. You know, my wife is actually from Texas, but she's lived in Ohio most of her life. She hates Michigan fans, and I'm not a sports guy, so I'm just like, okay, honey, you do you have a good time hating everyone you want to hate over sports ball, and yeah, I'll go read a book. We're cool,
right?
Yeah, I go to a football game with a football or baseball game with my wife, and I'll have my computer or tablet or something to write with.
Just read.
I read while I watch the football games and I only really pay attention. I don't like sports in general. It's college football, college basketball, and then the Red Wings.
There you go.
I let my husband handle the rest of the sports. He's a jock, nerd jock.
I will watch the Bengals with my son because he's a big football. His team's like the Broncos, but I grew up loving. When I was young, I really did kind of like sports because you're expected to in the '80s when you're a boy, whether you want to or not. So I kind of got back into Bengals the last couple of years because Joe Burrow is the quarterback. He's blowing my fucking mind, man. Like I've never been excited about watching football anymore, but like for some reason that. But if we're gonna talk wrestling, now wrestling I'm obsessed as shit with. I watch that all the time. I'm an ex-wrestler myself. Like wrestling is life.
Yeah, I'm athletically challenged.
I am now.
I always have been.
So my freshman year of high school, I was walking from my bed to my boombox to turn off the radio so I could go to bed. Tripped over absolutely nothing and sprained my ankle and was on crutches for a week.
Oh man.
Sports and I do not get along, so I will watch them on TV and have pay attention, and I will leave the rest of the sports up to my my husband and my youngest. But
unless NASCAR and wrestling is counted as a sport, we didn't do sports in our household. So
yeah,
other than that, it's like movies, random TV shows, anime, and after my parents died, it was like Walker Texas Ranger and wrestling and NASCAR, and and then I hear everybody talk about sports, and I'm lost.
Walker had like the best combo ever. It was just kick, punch, shoot, and he did it in every episode like 20 fucking times, and you knew when it was coming. You could just stand in front of your TV and just kick, punch, shoot along with him, and it was amazing. I didn't like the show. I just liked it when he did that because it made me feel important. You know, I could stand at a TV and pretend I knew karate, and it's awesome. And I was an adult.
Yeah, so I grew up out in the middle of nowhere, and we had an antenna that was on our roof that had a motor. We got NBC and CBS. On a good day, we'd get Fox and PBS. And so growing up, it was the NewsHour with Jim Lehrer.
Oh, shit.
And then it was the NBC Nightly News. And then it was whatever procedural was on NBC or CBS or whatever. My dad, literally, we had 2 TVs, one in my parents' room and one in the living room. And my dad controlled the one in the living room, and nobody could go into the bedroom except for my mom to watch TV in there. So I had to basically watch what they watched. And the only sports my dad's from Detroit. He grew up in Detroit in the 40s and 50s. And the only sports he ever watched was U of M football. Because again, he was an alum, and so to him it was, well, I went to this school, I need to support this school, I need to support these college kids who are trying to better themselves and get a career. And then he would watch Red Wing hockey if they made the Stanley Cup playoffs, and I got to really liking the fights. So now I try to watch it whenever I've got a moment. If there's not something else on I want to watch more.
Yeah. When I was rehabbing from thinking I was paralyzed after a bad wrestling accident, I started being able to walk and stuff again. I got more into hockey because I used to be in hockey when I was before that.
Mm-hmm.
And, I ended up getting as far as the Toledo Storm. And I'm a big guy. Let's be honest. I'm a great skater, but I'm a big guy. I didn't get the puck. I was the enforcer. That was my whole job. To sit in the penalty box most of every game and beat the shit out of each other. You know, that was fun. I got it for a whole season, and then I was done.
I don't blame you.
I think the most interest I have in sports is sports anime, because they make them really interesting.
Oh yeah, that's always a lot more fun.
That just makes me think Dragon Ball Cell games. That's where I'm at with that. I know like this much about anime because my problem with ongoing with anime is demons. And I'll explain. 75% of every anime, TV show, movie, project, manga of all time, my dad's a demon and I have to come to terms with that. And I'm also part demon. And no storyline in the history of writing has ever been beaten to death as much as that. So every time my friends get really excited about a new anime, they're like, Raz, you're going to love this. And I say, is there a demon? And they just hang their head and they're like, yeah. But having said that, there have been some great non-demon ones. There's great non-demon ones out there that I've really enjoyed, for sure.
Whereas I've tried to bring you 6 different non-demon anime that I've really enjoyed, one of which is like really weird and has like espers and all types of stuff. But
I love Canadian
that's why I used not American the demons. And I'm like, but I like these that aren't demony, so I know that I know the other part. Right, so
there was one where they were trapped in
wings right now.
Sword Art Online. I really liked season 1 of that. That was a really cool idea that was ripped off from 2 sci-fi films from the 80s, but I really liked it a lot. It was really cool. And Pet Shop of Horrors, which I've apparently is really obscure. You're the only other person, like maybe like 2 other people I've ever met have ever heard of this show before, and I loved it. I thought it was great.
Do they have an anime? Because I've only read the manga.
Oh yeah, there's an anime for it. This was like years ago that someone like said, "Here, you'll like this. You like anthologies and weird shit," and it was pretty fantastic. I like that.
What was it?
Dragon Ball.
Pet Shop of Horrors. Basically, each thing in the manga, each episode of the manga was someone came in with a need for a pet, and the pet was always the pet was like most people saw it as an animal, but it had a humanoid form that you'd see, and it's got I love the guy who runs the shop.
Yeah. So he would match people up to the right animals that had something to do with like their personality. A lot of these people were actually kind of terrible people that ended up getting, a number of them were terrible people that ended up getting the pets, and they would always get murdered by the pets. Then the pet would just, happen to be back at the pet store because it was an interdimensional pet store.
Right.
Yeah. It's super weird, super out there, but it's a fun one. It's cool to watch.
Have you watched any anime, Ashira?
Does Sailor Moon count?
Yeah.
Because that's it.
But Sailor Moon does not count. There's a problem in my house.
I'm sorry?
If Sailor Moon does not count, there's a problem in my house.
Gotcha. Yeah.
My wife was a big Sailor Moon.
I watched it in high school. Of course, it was the English. It was all in English, which is good because I hate subtitles.
Yeah.
I like the.
And of course, a lot of other things happen in the non-English versions of those. So.
Well, it was whatever was on Fox or whatever in the late 90s. And then my ex was big into anime, made me watch Evangelion.
Mm-hmm. I've seen parts of that.
I was really dissatisfied with the way it ended because it just like stopped.
The last episode was really weird.
And then Witch Hunter or something like that. There was like one season and they never explained why the one dude hated the new chick, and it's just like, I need answers.
Yeah.
So I try to avoid anime because there's a lot that's just not answered and my brain doesn't like it, but my daughter loves Demon Slayer.
Yeah,
I've heard of that one.
Manga and anime are famous that they've perfected cliffhangers.
I hate cliffhangers. I get irrationally angry like Hulk smash when I have cliffhangers.
Yeah, then I can understand why you don't like anime.
I don't like them.
There's one I think you would like, and I like this one. It's the Supernatural anime. They actually made an anime on Supernatural, and I was actually kind of surprised. If you buy the box set, like the whole Blu-ray thing with all the seasons, it comes with it. Because that's how I ended up getting hold of it and watching it. But you can watch it online. It actually turned out pretty good. There's not many episodes of it, but it was really cool.
Might have to look into that.
Yeah. It's no Ghost Facers, but it's pretty good. Ghost Facers. I love that skit. That's like one of my favorite side things.
So AJ Buckley, who played one of the Ghost Facers on the show, he's in SEAL Team now with David Boreanaz.
Yep.
Hottest vampire ever.
Angel, oh yeah.
Yes. So
I'm a spy guy, but I do like Angel.
So what's funny is the guy who does the music for SEAL Team is it G. Snuffy Walden, something like that. He did the music for The West Wing.
Nice.
Yeah, and he did one of the actors from The West Wing has a podcast, or they had a podcast. They watched all the episodes and talked about it and talked with the cast members, and they had him on there, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm working on the music for a new pilot," and they're like, "Oh, can you give us a name?" And he says, "No, it's." But it was he gave enough of a description to know that is the show. So. Oh my God!
Nice. That's awesome.
As you can tell, we squirrel out a lot, but that's like kind of like one of the big things about the network is we do a lot of squirreling. Because the whole network is really about storytelling and connecting with people. So like squirreling is always like a big part of natural conversations. It makes it more fun and a little less structured for us.
And it works in this situation. Everybody can see.
Yeah. And Jenny and I are just lost in the same woods.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I actually am in the middle of the woods. Just mine don't look like that. And you may be able to hear the crickets or cicadas or whatever that is around me. So yeah,
that's just ambiance.
Yeah,
I've got crickets out my window too. I can hear them, but I like hearing the bullfrogs.
I'm not close enough to the ponds for that. I'm sort of just in the front porch at the front of the woods. Oh, yeah. So that definitely rocks. Okay, we've hit over an hour, and you guys have been amazing, and I have learned more than I expected, and I appreciate it. And we should probably go towards ending the show. Thank you guys all for coming, and anybody who watches, please hashtag replay. And if you want, add a question later, and then we can get it back to the authors, and they can answer you. And I would like to thank Raz and Ashira and Todd for coming. And please tell us where to find you guys.
So I'm on Twitter at Ashira Datya. Also on Facebook, same name. Or if you would prefer, I have email ashiradatya@gmail.com.
You can find me at rastslasher.com and all the social medias that are out there, I'm sure, at this point. And wherever toys are sold now with Kung Fu Action Grip.
Dear Sir Todd.
You can find me at theodoreandtinker.com. You can also find my stuff at balanceof7.com, which is my press. And also we're on Patreon, both patreon.com/theodoreandtinker and patreon.com/balanceof7. And I also do I'm hoping to get back into it this week. But I do weekly lives on Twitch, which my handle's Theater and Tinker. Everywhere you look, if you find Theater and Tinker, you'll find me.
And before we go, what is the proper way to pronounce your middle name?
Near attack.
Near attack.
Okay,
Hey Jenny.
Near attack.
Where can we find you? Where can we find you?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to do that after I found out how to properly pronounce his name.
Okay.
I dropped it in the private chat.
Okay, yes, I had to squirrel out for one more minute because the name drives me insane. Hey, I'm Jenny Elliott. You can find me at Friday's Disorganized Disorganized Library in the Blue Box. Friday's Library in the Blue Box, as well as my page. The other is my group. Also on my normal page, Jenny Elliott. And you can drop a question on Owlite Studios or Raz T Slashers, anything. And you will get back to me because I run most of that as well. Or if you have questions for them, I'll get you to them. Either way, please come say hi and read more with me and help me explore more in the world. Thank you.
I like turtles.
Okay. Great night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.